First, so let's bring in our political editor, Andrew Clennell. And Andrew, the Biden visit might not have eventuated in Sydney and Canberra this week, but nonetheless, some significant deals done by the Prime Minister.
Yes, morning, Kieran and viewers. Some key agreements were reached yesterday afternoon and last night between the Australian Prime Minister and US President, and between the PM and Australia's Quad partners in a truncated Quad meeting on the sidelines of the G7 in Japan. The Quad was due to be held at the Sydney Opera House on Wednesday, but after US President Joe Biden cancelled his Australian trip due to domestic debt ceiling woes, the Australian PM had it reconvened in Hiroshima. Fortunately, officials had already done a heap of work on what would be discussed and agreed to between Australian, US, Japanese and Indian leaders, and that was carried through last night. Despite Japanese Prime Minister Kishida being host of the G7, he insisted that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese chair the Quad meeting. The four leaders met to discuss how to be less reliant on China and how to counter that superpower's influence. The discussions reached agreement on such issues as the security of submarine cables, infrastructure and engineer training. In a bilateral meeting between the PM and President, a statement of intent was reached on critical minerals and defence industry, and the defence industry, should I say, to treat Australia like a domestic manufacturer, similar to the current defence agreement between the US and Canada. That statement of intent also committed both countries to advance climate and clean energy action, and was described as historic by the Prime Minister's people.
I'm looking forward to our conversation today and hosting you for an official state visit this year in Washington, D.C. And again, I truly apologize to you for having you to come here rather than me being in Australia right now. But we have a little thing going on at home I got to pay attention to.
We are indeed an outcomes-focused grouping that can get things done and can be flexible to make sure that we achieve these outcomes. It's an example of our resolve.